good to you, then that's your bowl. So I love this bowl, so I'll keep it. So in playing two different bowls, you now have a choice to either have the sounds ascending or descending. So in other words, ascending sound, which is uplifting, it's moving, it's refreshing, it's creating you to be more alive and alert, even if it's in a meditation, because it's still bringing you up. So if you think about that first thing in the morning, if you're playing the bowls and having each one of them have an ascending sound, it's going to help over time to awaken and alert the person's mind and body, so they're going to have a great day. Then we have the descending sounds. So they're descending, they're dropping, they're anchoring, they're grounding, they're letting go in a way. So if you think about evening time, when you already have a very alert and busy brain, you want to try to get some stuff off. So those descending sounds, or whatever sounds that you have, if you align them in a way that they're descending with the way that you're playing, it's automatically going to help a person relax because of the way the sounds are moving. So you have the count we're using. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And as you can tell, once you start, it kind of takes away from was it ascending or descending, but the original way that you're playing throws a kind of like the fishing line for the entrainment to catch on to the brain of having it ascend each and every time. So the person is following that certain beat and rhythm of it ascending. So you can then start putting time in between, and again you're playing a certain decibel level depending if it's morning or night and how you want to work it. Count in between. So again, you can do the 4s, tap the bowl, 4 count, tap the bowl, 4 count, go back and forth, make a simple rhythm. Usually I like to go from the 4 to the 6 first, and then go to the 8, and then to continue with the 4s. So you would follow that out, and again, you're stretching that time, just like in the first video, or playing with on just one single bowl. And then the same thing on the reversing process. If it's first thing in the morning, you can start by having more time in between, but you want to know the length of decay of your bowl. So in other words, understanding and knowing the bowls that you have and how they work, you would want to strike it at a certain decibel level because you want to keep them the same unless you're focusing more on the main fundamental note and then the secondary, so the secondary dropping down a decibel level, so you put more accent on the first one, or vice versa. So in doing that, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24. Now we're about into a first decibel. So I know that in the strike that I use, which could be a second or third decibel, this bowl is going to linger on for a while, and I can use that same decibel level, which I choose, so there is no, what is the right answer? it's your count, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, however you're feeling. And so you want to work your count and then keep that count as your base, as your set, as your foundation, and then work on stretching that out to alter, again, time and space. So if I knew I was going to be going into longer periods of time, then I want to make sure that I'm going definitely into a third decibel strike, because I know it'll linger for a long time. The rate of decay will hold on. But I also want a bowl that's going to complement that. So the other bowl needs to linger too. 18, and I noticed I gave it a little extra strike, so it was probably like in the 2.5s. So again, this one is more vocal, and I kind of know that ahead of time that this bowl peaks up and it ramps up, and then it just likes to play. It's like, leave me alone, I'm playing, you put energy in it, I'm going to work for a while. So that's important to know also when you go to the rimming section. So again, on the first bowl segment, we talked about timing during different strikes, so now we're adding to that. So you had your 2, 3, 4, going to 6, going to 8. 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you work the count and stretch it out. So you're counting as you're rimming and then counting as you're pausing as well. And you can play around with that number. So in other words, you can rim for a count of 4. And you want to, as soon as you start to hear it, once it goes into like the first decibel, then you kind of start your count there, because certain bowls may take a rotation or two to get the bowl to start to ramp up into that first decibel. So right now, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And then you would just continue to do that. So the beauty of this is that when you're playing these bowls, you get a little spacey, and sometimes you lose count, and sometimes you lose exactly where you are. But if you started the work correctly, and you train the brain, and the person is starting to drift off, they're not going to notice it as much. In some cases, they may notice that something changed, but then it went back to it. And sometimes that little change could also offer a doorway, a release, or an escape from something. That would be if they were going deeper and deeper into it, then all of a sudden something changed, and then they'd be wondering, is that going to change again? So again, you're getting the brain out of the right brain of thinking and processing, trying to strategize through life, into the right brain of the feelings and the emotions, which activates your the vagus nerve, the parasympathetic nervous system, the relaxation response system, and so on and so forth. So again, playing these bowls in a certain way, you get to change and work with those numbers. Do you want to rim for 4, then go to 6, then to go to 8? Do you want to have a certain count in between the two bowls? And that, again, is the beauty of it, because there's so many different combinations, and you get to create the ones that work for you. with how you are feeling, and that's important because that's what you're passing on to the listener. You want to get to this place that you're playing these bowls and you're working with them, that they become part of you. It's part of the extension of your heart is going into this work, and that's being passed on to the listener. And again, with these bowls, you can use the suede mallet because you're not going to get the scratchy sound. However, it takes a little bit of work to get them because you want to grab. It's the cohesiveness that's grabbing the bowl. So rubber will grab a little easier. So temperature also matters. If the bowls are if it's humid outside, the bowls are a little damp. The temperature, humidity in the air, sometimes the mallet in the bowl will get a little sticky and the bowl will want to start to move on it. Sometimes they'll be extra smooth and you'll be going around. It's not grabbing anything yet until you apply a little bit more pressure. So depending on the surface that you're putting in the bowl, you want to put the bowl on a surface that the rubber mallet is going to grab a hold and hold on tight, which does work for different tables and certain flooring, definitely on a carpet floor if you decide to put it on carpet. I like to work off of a table. I get to play more bowls, I get to move around a little bit, but these mats that I have that are basically dinner placemats will spin on a smooth surface. So I would usually put out like a tapestry on top of the table and then put the discs on top. And you can also get the discs in different colors that work with different notes if you happen to get the white frosted bowls. So this way it can help you remember what note you're looking at. I also like the discs because it helps keep a spacing between the bowls, which is important because when the bowls start interacting with each other, they'll start pulsating and working in with each other, that there is a distance that gets to flex and move. If the bowls are too close and you're getting them ramping up and that flow and that pulse aren't working with each other and they're starting to work against each other, that might not be a good thing. So one of the things that I always tell my students, we don't use the B word around the bowls because that word doesn't exist. I don't know what that word means because they're crystal, they're delicate. I also don't pass things over the top of the bowl. I always go in between the bowl. Again, it's kind of like its own little sacred vortex, this area that this energy is coming in and coming out of, that you're working the rotation. Some people like to rotate clockwise. Some say clockwise brings in, counterclockwise takes out. Some people say rotate counterclockwise because that's the natural rotation of the universe. So you find the way that you like to work and work with that. And that way if somebody asks you why you're playing a certain way, then you have an answer for them. You can also ricochet and have it kind of bounce off like a pinball. So you're putting more of the effort into the first one. You're choosing an angle like playing pool. So sometimes when I start a meditation, when people are first coming in the evening time, when they're scurrying, they're settling in and getting their mats and getting their placements, you kind of want to start on time, get the ball rolling and everything, and the brain is busy and people are still getting in. So that's a time that you can actually be having some fun, check out the table, kind of play around with the bowls a little bit, makes it a little interesting. It kind of helps put the energy out when people are settling down, kind of let it linger, but you're also doing a sound check of the room. You're listening how the sound is working off of the container of the room. So depending on if the bowls are in the center, it's going to work out more evenly to the sides. If the bowls are closer to the wall can actually help as like an amplifier to bounce the sound and ricochet it off to be a supporting sound. If you're in a corner, then the sound can't come out either one of those two areas. So now you have more magnification on pumping that sound further to the other side of the room. So in that case, sometimes people will play these bowls a little bit too loud because they start ramping up, you're getting spacey, you're continuing playing, and we don't put the pause or let the count and take a moment ourselves, because we're excited to know that we got to relax and let that energy linger. Otherwise, you keep playing these bowls, they're going to get louder. They're going to go pretty soon, very quickly, into the 4th decibel, 5th decibel, and that's where the sound can change from the pure sound of the beauty of the bowls that you already know into something different. So when that happens, the bowl can start to over-reverberate, the mallet can start to bounce off of it. If the bowl is already energized going into the bowl, sometimes it will da, 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 da. When you're getting it to rim, or you're starting to rim and it's rimming too fast and it's already making a da, 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 and you still keep going around, as soon as you start feeling an over-reverberation, let the bowl go. It's already energized. The bowl is actually telling you, I'm already working. Pay attention to me. Let me play. Let the bowl play. So these are instruments. They want to work. They want to do the job. Let them play. You'd also be surprised how much the sound travels. So you don't necessarily have to really worry about that sound going to the other side of the room, because these are pretty vocal. And that's why a lot of people go for crystal bowls first. Because they are easy to play, they are very vocal, and they push out there. So that makes a beautiful thing. And again, if you're rimming the bowls, and you've got the bowls going into a certain place, and people are relaxed, and you're looking at the room, take a moment and step back. Listen to what the room is doing. Moving in. Maybe keep your body motion in line with that as like a timing. You're now bringing your body, your speech, your mind into the work. If you happen to notice another sound sneak in, maybe the bathroom door, or someone comes in a little late, you can add a little sound in while you're still keeping that rhythm. That extra little sound can help to compensate the extra sound that just came in the room. So fire trucks could always come by. And you just make a little extra sound. Everyone heard the sound, so do a little sound that kind of is a calm response to it, and then go back to your rhythm. Maybe not let it stretch out as much, maybe pick up a little bit closer, a little bit louder, a little bit closer together, because you want to get them on the line again, because they just snuck out a little bit because there was a distraction. So again, you want to get them, you want to kind of reel them back in so they can have a nice, relaxing, deep meditation. Also, when you're coming out of it, if you're starting to ramp up the decibel levels, and you do it slowly, from like the 1st or 2nd decibel up into the 4th, if you took 5-10 minutes to do that, you want to take 5 or 10 minutes to come back down, because then you're going to have your nice wave. And either allow that to pick back up, and therefore you can actually choreograph your time of your session. So now you're not just winging it, you're doing something on purpose, you're having strategy, and you can change it because it's your composition that you are creating, and you have the ability to make little adjustments. But again, if you're blossoming up, you want to take the same amount of time to come down. That also helps a person linger their way back into the room, again finishing with some kind of silence, or if time does not allow, you have another instrument that you want to make a little chimey sound with. That's okay as like a callback, but it's really important to let that body integrate with the sound meditation that you just provided, because it was doing some work. So let that work kind of continue. Let it kind of linger into the body. Let them come back naturally. Let their brains start to slowly readjust to what's going on, versus coming back quickly and then saying, okay, we got to get up and next class is coming in. So you want to time it right. So you leave enough time at the end to have the quiet time, to let that integration happen. And that's very important. I know some people that actually allow maybe 10, 15 minutes. That's when they start to come down, and then they allow that 10 or 15 minutes as the quiet time to just focus on your breathing, or also allow a chance to have people ask questions. I like to say, did anybody have any questions or experiences they would like to share, or would you like to just process? This puts it on them, on the experience, versus saying, do you still feel A, B, C? Because you don't want to bring that back in. So you want to control the conversation, and you want to guide them into a place again with the experience. And that's the right brain, versus how do I feel, and make them think about it. Then they're going into the right brain, the brain saying, wow, I still feel the aches and pains. So I also noticed that when you're playing these bowls, if a person has congestion, they can get a little discomfort in the sinuses, because the sounds can get you to notice where the blockages are as they're moving through your body. I've also noticed if a person maybe feels a little nauseous at the end, through my experience, that tells me that a person possibly had a blockage that came right up to the surface and it was ready to leave, but then they called it back. It's like surrendering into the moment. Some people can't surrender. They got to be in charge. They got to be in control of everything, and that would actually prevent you from releasing that blockage, which you really need to let go of. So surrendering into the moment, preparing your clients for what's going to be taking place, how you want them to follow the sounds and not just fall asleep. We are very sleep deprived, so that can happen. This work can still do its job, but it'll do more if the person follows or participates. Be a participant in their own healing work. So people have like two choices. They can either drift off and journey, or they can anchor and be grounded and do their own healing work on the ground or on the floor, or go into the ailment or whatever is bothering them and hanging out and saying, all right, what's going on here? Or communicate with yourselves and say, be healed. Because you are the master of your feelings and emotions. You control your destiny. You are here to create and work with your heart's desires. So give yourself permission to get your brain out of the way, to enjoy life. That's what kids do. Kids are in the fourth, or in the right brain until they're about 4 to 6 years old. They just want to have fun. I want to go out and have fun. When am I going to have fun? And then we start going to school, we have to strategize and figure things out. How to maneuver through life. So we start training ourselves to be left-brained. But that whole fight or flight mechanism that we have is only really supposed to be the fight part when something severely is happening, not just making the trip to the grocery store, which nowadays can be very stressful. So stress is going to be one of the main factors. Worldwide. Our mental stability, because of all these things that are going on. So it's going to be very important to learn how to control or to notice very gently that we're already rises to the top, to the surface, then it, in most cases, it's got to go through, it's got to finish. So again, you can look back at where the point of no return was, be gentle with yourself, and tell yourself you're going to pick up on that a little bit sooner next time. So obviously you can be speaking with a person while you're playing. That last strike, if it doesn't feel right, look for it. Tap around, have fun. You can make your own rules. You're the one facilitating. And that's the beauty of this. So that's a way to play two bowls. You have a choice, ascending or descending with the crystal. So thank you very much for joining me. We're next going to go into three bowls where now we can have a lot of fun. So I look forward to seeing you in the third level. Thank you very much.